Hey Shane, how are you?
Love the background, man. That's great.
Yeah, this is definitely not something that my wife made for her first grade presentations. This is all mine,
Yeah,
all
okay.
nice reserved.
That's awesome. She's very creative. That's such a good man, what a good idea.
Oh yeah, well, it's primarily because she didn't think that first graders wanted to see me walking by, in a pair of shorts or something like that to grab coffee. So we had to block out the rest of the view there.
Well, that's okay. It works, and it's probably
Yeah,
smart on her part because you may never know when she's on a call.
that's true.
I walk past my wife's office quite often, and I never know if she's like really into her call and she's like staring at the computer, or if she's like doing something else. And so I'll just sit there and stare at her, and she's like, "Oh, my
Yeah.
bad, sorry."
Go.
How you doing, man? You making it?
Hey, no complaints. No complaints at all. We got our oldest son is back from college. The Louisiana Tech shut their deal down, and they primarily stay upstairs. And as long as there's good grades and everything, you'll have at it. So
Yeah, I mean that's
we haven't
great.
gone. Nobody snapped and picked up an axe or anything like that yet. So
Well, that's good.
yeah,
At least you guys are sane and everything's fine. I've talked to
absolutely.
quite a few coaches, and the spectrum is kind of up and down.
Yeah,
I feel like though a lot of times coaches with older kids are like, "Oh, this is great! Like I get to see my kids. They're here. They're around. Like this is wonderful." And then coaches with younger kids are like, I am so busy. I can't get anything done. I just don't know what to." I'm like, yeah,
yeah,
I mean, I get it.
absolutely. So
So
you have a little girl, right?
I do, yes, sir. We
Everything
have,
is going okay there?
yeah, she's good. She's one. She turned one through this whole thing, so we got to have this huge birthday party, and with all of our friends and everything that you're not allowed to have. So we
Yeah,
had four people that were around. So we got to have a little bit of a celebration, but four people is about all we could get here.
yeah,
Everybody was
that's great. That's great.
pretty adamant on staying away and staying home, which I was like, okay, yeah, like we need to
Yeah,
just do what we can to make sure that this stuff all slows down. So,
yeah,
yeah, we're great. She's doing good. Everybody here's good and happy and healthy. So, trying to just push through until this thing passes.
good, good.
But yeah, so I just wanted to pick your brain a little bit. I got some questions here. So as you know, we've met before. We've talked a little bit. I got to do an event with you guys at McKinney Christian with your cross country program and your queso challenge. But go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell me who you are, and tell me what you do.
Okay, so my name is Rhett McKeller. I am the cross country coach at McKinney Christian Academy. I believe I started there as an assistant coach in 2016, working with Coach Jameson. After year two with him, he had a change in jobs, and it basically bumped me up in the spot of head coach. And I've been there with my Tyler Blue for years, and we're kind of getting ramped up for our 2020 season right now. Apart from that, my day job is a insurance agent, independent insurance agent. So, I kind of split time in the season doing stuff for the job in the morning, and in the afternoons, I'm there working middle school and high school cross country winners.
Love it, man. How's this affecting you guys, your cross country team right now? I know it's kind of not so bad for the running world because you can still kind of get out and do things. So
Yeah, so it gave us a unique opportunity. The track season didn't materialize for most of them, and we like to have them run track and have about a 2 to 3 week layoff period before we jump into summer training. Obviously, with no track, I kind of just took a back burner approach to it, and a few weeks ago started reaching out to all of them and saying, you guys have been sitting, in a chair or on a couch doing classwork and everything. It's time to progressively increase some of our running. And then I hit them with a couple of informational meetings. We did some recruiting for new runners for next year, introduced a May and June calendar. We're going to have a time trial, hopefully on May 15th, to kind of get those kids started, to get their pace times, and then it's kind of off to the races from May 15th all the way to August 4th or 5th, I believe, which is our official first day of school. So, yeah, we're about to step into our summer training program May 15th.
All right. So are you sending those workouts out? Or are you guys like using an app, or how are you getting that stuff to them?
Yeah, so I took it from a coach in Stillwater, Minnesota, Scott Christensen, and he has a program that I've been doing a lot of studying up on. And basically what I do is I just create a PDF calendar that I send out to the kids along with videos for like newer runners or younger runners to tell them, go ahead and print that calendar out and let's make some notes. If you are a new join or, you haven't had that much time in, here's how we're going to tier you, maybe shave a mile or two off of some of those requirements each day. But we basically share a PDF calendar, like it'll be a May and June form right now. They have that. And then towards the end of June, I'll put out another calendar to them. And along the way, we're going to be doing, videos and stuff like that, talking about our warm-up routine, stretching, any of the ancillary things that go on with our running.
Amazing. So you mentioned Stillwater, Minnesota, and fun fact, aside from all of this stuff, I was actually hired as the head football coach for St. Croix Academy in Stillwater, Minnesota. I think it was about, was it 2017, 2018, 2017? Somewhere back in there. I love Stillwater, Minnesota.
I've never been, but this guy that was from there is just as interesting as it gets. So, I would love to be up, go visit that area.
Oh, it's beautiful, man. And that's actually Minnesota, believe it or not, even though being as cold as it is one of the fittest states in America. They have trails for days. And there's always people. I mean, even when it's like 11 degrees and it's snowing, like you still see people out biking and running. And it's like, one, you guys are crazy because why are you outside right now? But two, like they do such a good job up there of making sure that their land and like everything is preserved so they can still have that stuff for outdoors. It's amazing, man. My wife is from Minneapolis, so we're up there quite often. And dude, it's a cool place up there. But Stillwater is just far enough out of the city that it's like, oh, this is amazing, man.
Yeah.
But that's a pretty cool place. Cool. So so how is this affecting you as a coach, like trying to get to your athletes? And I know cross country is a little bit different than other team sports because it's an individual competing in a team sport anyways. So how's it affecting you as a coach, like trying to coach them from a virtual distance?
Yeah, it's, it has become a dependence on technology through meetings, Zoom, Google Meet, things like that. We have a heavy reliance on our group text for us to just get out words about, one of my incoming seniors this year is already sending messages out to the group. Hey, we're going to meet at this time, at this location on this day for anybody who wants to run. So, we're inching towards a point where I'm probably going to have to be a little bit more dependent on technology as far as the meetings and stuff, because how do I know that these kids are completing their workouts that I send them? We're going to have them log stuff.
Yeah.
Probably open up a spreadsheet where they can come in, through a shared drive and enter their information. Past that, I always tell them I really enjoy a face-to-face communication with both runners and parents for informational sessions to start that up, just simply because I want them to see me, know who I am, know who Coach Blue is. And when you remove that, it's kind of like, well, we hope that we got the message out there. We hope everybody was paying attention during the information session. And then it's kind of a scramble to follow up after that.
Right.
So, emails, texts, answering all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's a lot more dependence on the computer and the phone to communicate. But we just have to do that right now. Probably another hurdle that we're going to have to face is following along and following the rules regarding the phases of opening up
Right.
Whether it's TAPS, whether it's the state regulations. I'm going to have to provide that information to everybody and links to websites and all that. It's just you have to become comfortable in front of the computer and communicating that way.
Man, so that's been the biggest transition for myself as well, because everything that I do is face to face, and my entire job is built on being with people and being in front of them and talking with them and shaking hands and creating that relationship through face to face communication. And it's so weird now that the new normal is this. This is the new normal, and people are like accepting that and understanding that. And like your background, for instance, like it's getting to where people are starting to be really creative, and they have all these like virtual backgrounds. So we created one that's a locker room, and it's a virtual locker room behind you. And so it looks like you're sitting in the locker room, and it has like Chipotle branded things everywhere, and it's super cool. Unfortunately, my computer is too old to run that, but it's super cool. My boss uses it all the time, and it's great. But yeah, like us, like I'm so used to being in front of people and talking with them and just talking through nutrition and talking through different aspects of what Chipotle has to offer teams and how it goes from the nutrition aspect to meal prep to what they do for teams and options and things like that. And now it's so much more difficult because I am on the computer like 95% of my day. And when I'm not on the computer, I'm on the phone walking around trying to just get my face away from this screen. And so it's like, well, now I have to transition everything from like creating relationships and organically introducing Chipotle to people. And now it's driving, hey, don't you forget Chipotle is doing free delivery. And so I'm driving different marketing initiatives, and I'm driving different things for Chipotle. And it's so much different than just being face to face. And so it's definitely a different new normal. That's for sure. But
Absolutely.
I do think people are starting to accept it and realize that, like, hey, this is best for right now. I feel like there's just so many opinions, and it's hard. So I'm just like trying to do my part in one way that I know how, and it's so difficult.
Yeah.
But okay, so what are your goals going forward with your team for the rest of 2020 being completely upended?
Yeah. The major goal is to implement this summer training program as best as we can, because previously it's kind of been a hit and miss. It wasn't until after I went through training with USA Track and Field and did a cross-country specific course that I really understood how crucial your summer training is. So we've had in the past where we just hand out some workout guidelines for the summer and not really been too strict about monitoring it. But now both Coach Blue and I have committed over the summer to say, okay, we're going to have the recovery runs, the easy runs. Yes, those kids can be self-guided on that. But as coaches, we are going to have to maintain workouts during the summer.
Yep.
So that means us getting up at those 6 a.m. hours, 6:30, meeting those kids out there at a location, running them through those workouts, making sure they know what they're doing, and getting them ready for day one, when we're ready to line up for our first race. That's the major goal, I think, for our team this year. Obviously, we feel that we've got a team that can do better than what they did at state last year. Our men's team, I have no problem in saying I think they're a championship team. So it's kind of, going through the motions, getting the workouts done, going through the programs, but also trying to stave off injury, fatigue, illness, all that sort of stuff, to really preach to them basic fundamentals about following what we say, good nutrition at home, and watching that recovery. When we say to be off, be off. When we say to eat good, eat good. When we say to run this workout, you do that. If they're following those fundamentals, that's what we're needing out of them this year.
Yeah. Are you sending them any certain type of like nutritional stuff in terms of like pre-run, post-run?
At this time, we're really, I haven't had the chance to sit down with them, but usually when we get to that end season or the end of let's say end of July, we talk to them about it. We sit down and we ask them no dumb questions. If it's as simple as what am I supposed to eat, we let them have the chance to ask those questions.
Yeah.
We invite the parents in. We talk to them about hydration strategies, about the times that they have to start eating and hydrating, because they're coming to us sitting in a classroom since 7:40, 7:50 a.m. They have some in between class breaks. They have one lunch break. So it's very crucial for us to talk to them about, you got to start thinking, if we're out on the course at 3:30, when do I need to be eating my last meal? When do I need to start hydrating? Once we get done with workout, what am I going to eat? What am I, where am I headed here? I've had athletes prior that have said, yeah, I'll just go home and have a little water. And where did you get that strategy from? So we typically, we're going to get into that. I think now that I have some time here in the summer and I'm with them a lot more, that's going to be the time to bump up and talk to them about those strategies for, not only pre, but post nutrition and recovery.
Yeah. Well, if you guys need an extra asset for that, especially on the parent part,
Yeah, absolutely.
let me know, man. I got some stuff for you guys. I think I could help that, especially with the parents. That's typically the harder part is because they want to know and they genuinely have no idea, because they're like, well, you're telling them to do this, but I don't even know what I'm supposed to be doing for them. So we get that a lot of times with parents that are just like, I would love to do whatever we need to do, but I just don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, if you need an extra asset, let us know. We'll help you out. Well, awesome. So this is a shifting gears just a little bit. Being a coach and being the head of a program and leading other assistant coaches and kids in general, if your athletes could learn one thing from you going forward into the future, what would you want that to be?
Consistency. I think with athletes at a smaller school like ours, typically they're going to get more play time, and that means that they're going to do multi sports. The problem with cross country being in the beginning of the season with sports like football and volleyball is they have a proclivity to want to prepare, and the only things out there for them are an agility programs.
Right.
And now that we're introducing an endurance training program, that kind of offers that consistency that you need to do, specific sport-specific training. And once you're through with the cycle of cross country, if you're going to go into wrestling, into soccer, basketball, you need to have a consistent training plan to jump and transition from that, And then we have the spring sports, which is back to track, I'm trying to remember, softball, baseball, some other programs. So you need to develop a consistent mindset that I have to look at, have a pre-training, have an in-season training, and a transition time between these sports. And I think there's a lot of them that just kind of float, and it's like, well, it's first day of soccer, so I show up with a pair of soccer cleats, and you're trying to catch up, basically.
Right.
You're never really on top of that fitness curve to be in that sport and be competitive when it starts. So yeah, just a consistent calendar. Don't wait for the sport to come to you. Get out 3 months ahead of it and plan and see what you're going to be looking at for those particular seasons.
Yeah, McKinney Christian, I feel like has a pretty great culture that has been built over the last few years, specifically. So if you could give one piece of advice to young coaches or even new coaches to just transitioning their careers, what is that piece of advice you would give them?
So I think you have to have what Joe Vigil, the coach that I did my training through, you have to have unshatterable belief and enthusiasm. So you have to get immersed in whatever you're doing. It shouldn't be just a satellite opportunity to coach a sport. You need to immerse yourself. You need to understand every aspect about it, and you seek out training to better yourself constantly. whether that's going through a sanctioning body like I do with USATF, or attending coaches clinics or things like that. If you don't prime the pump, so to speak, once or twice a year, you kind of get in that rut, and you kind of look at training the same, and this is good enough, and that just can't happen. You've got to be out there and immerse yourself in things, and get enthusiastic about that sport. And obviously, when you do that, those kids are going to take notice. They're going to know which coaches are enthusiastic about it.
Yep. I could not agree more. That's a great piece of advice, especially for a guy like me who's seen, I've been in coaching for a little bit, not super long. I mean, I didn't even hit the 10-year mark, but myself, when I saw myself as a new coach to where towards the end of my career, and then seeing those new guys come in, the zeal that they had compared to what I had at the end of my career was like, oh man, like how do I get back to that? And so now that I'm doing stuff on the side with football and with different things, like that zeal is like coming back to me again. I'm like, oh man, this is why I was doing what I was doing. And so that's great advice, is being able to, keep yourself fresh and make sure you're on top of the newest thing and meeting kids where they're at, because they change all the time. So yeah, that's awesome. That is awesome. Well, Coach, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. I won't take up a whole lot more of your time here. I know you're a busy man. But yeah, if you have need anything, please let me know. Currently, I'm just hanging out, trying to talk to guys on Zoom. So whatever you need, man, I'll make sure to take care of it.
Yeah, thanks for having us. We're going to probably do something very unique towards the beginning of this. Our runners is, cross country doesn't get the bands, the big pep rallies, homecomings, and all that sort of stuff. We're probably going to put on a special event for them that I'd like for you and Chipotle to try to be a part of. It's kind of like a highlight run. Basically, it's just a chance for all of our parents to come. We're going to have a race there up at school, and just a chance to get on a PA and call out those kids' names, talk about some of their highlights, and let those parents kind of get a taste of, their kid needs a few moments in the sun there, and that's what we're going to try to provide for them. Of course, we'd love to have some Chipotle burritos on the side there. So
hey, you let me know, man.
Yeah, I'm working on the calendar. We got to see what dates work on that, and I'll be back in touch with you.
Yeah, let me know. We'd love to do something around that. We are wide open currently on the schedule, so
I can imagine.
Whatever you guys got, we would like to be involved. Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
Awesome. Appreciate it. I'll let you go about your day. I'll shoot you this video as soon as it gets done.
Okay. Stay safe.
Thanks. You too.